everyone, my name is Nicole Castro and my topic is explore the relationship between emotion, brain formation, stress, depression, food addiction, and weight. First, a definition, emotion eating, stress and other negative emotions such as depression and anxiety can lead to both decrease and increase food intake. The term emotional eating has been widely used to refer to the later response, a tendency to eat in response to negative emotions, with the chosen food being primarily energy dense and palatable ones. Depression and food, there is limited research into cycling, which depression leads to appetite change. However, one study using functional magnetic resonance imaging showed that similar parts of the brain are implicated in both depression and appetite cause. Uh, Different brain responses are associated with different changes in appetite, which could indicate that there are different subgroups of depressions. Food addiction. For men and women suffering from an addiction to food, highly palatable foods, which are often rich in fat, sugar, and or salt, triggers chemical reaction in the brain that induce feelings of pleasure and satisfaction, become dependent upon the good feelings that obtain from consuming certain food, which often perpetuates a continued need to eat even when not hungry. A video.
Hi, how are you? Good, good. How are you doing? Very good.
Francis Serrano is a young man who knows he's at risk for a heart attack.
When I was a young boy, people always said that, you know what, by the time you're 20, you're going to have a heart attack and you could be dead. Well, I'm 28 now. So what I'm afraid of is that I'm on borrowed time.
Francis weighs more than 500 pounds.
And that's who I am. I am morbidly obese, where it is almost a certain that I will die because of my weight problem.
How did Francis get to the point where he weighs this much? For some people, weight gain is caused by hormonal conditions. But for Francis, a lifetime of overeating and lack of exercise resulted in his massive body.
If you take fuel in, if you take food, you can either burn it or you can store it. And the storage is sort of like a battery. You can run your battery out, but you have to have a place to store that energy. And the fat cells are where you store that energy. You take carbohydrate, you can take protein, and if you don't need it for fuel, you turn it into fat.
Gonna warm up a little bit forward, circular.
And exercise, a good strategy for weight loss, strains the heart and lungs of an obese person.
Too much for me, Joe. It's very frustrating because I want to do more. I want to do so much more. But my body is the one telling me, you know, you gotta slow it down, you gotta slow it down. But I'm running out of time.
In order to quicken his weight loss, Francis has opted for a radical solution, a gastric bypass surgery.
Basically, what they're gonna do is make my stomach the size of a shot glass, and then reconnect my my intestines to the new portion of my smaller stomach.
Gastric bypass is the most common operation performed in US for weight loss. I think right now we have it down to an art form. Our complication rates are very low. The outcomes are excellent. And I think it's here to stay.
It's still considered a risky operation, with 1 in 100 operations ending in death.
For Francis, we thought the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass is the best operation. It has a consistent weight loss. In the first year, statistically, patients lose approximately 70 to 80% of their excess body weight.
So right now we're going to go ahead and close the incisions that we made, and we're done with the operation.
Good afternoon, everybody. There's something that I'd like to share with you guys today. I underwent gastric bypass surgery.
After 1 month, Francis has recovered from surgery and is much trimmer. Even so, this surgery is not a miracle. If Francis doesn't change his lifestyle, he won't continue to lose weight. and could even gain some back.
I wanted to continue to enjoy life.
Francis is feeling very optimistic that he'll be able to make the necessary changes. He knows he has a lot to live for.
I don't plan to be a bodybuilder. I just want to be healthy. I just want to be able to enjoy life.
Application in nutrition. Food is a potent natural reward, and food intake is a complex process. Reward and gratification associated with food consumption lead dopamine production, which in turn activates reward and pleasure centers in the brain. An individual will repeatedly eat a particular food to experience these positive feelings of gratification. This type of repeat behavior of brain reward pathways that eventually overrides other signals of satiety and hunger. A video.
Everything in my life felt out of control, except my eating.
Everyone lied to me about my weight. They said I was thin. I knew that wasn't true.
I felt empty, so I ate. Then I felt guilty, so I got rid of it.
Once I started eating, I couldn't stop, no matter what anyone said or did.
These are the voices of feeding and eating disorders. These affect millions of Americans and usually begin during adolescence. Self-image, food, eating, and body weight each become a source of serious anxiety for people, and they experience distorted thinking and behaviors that cause problems in their lives. These disorders can even be life-threatening. I know. One of these voices is mine. My own diagnosis was anorexia nervosa. I know now that it can be one of the most dangerous of all mental health disorders. I'm so glad that I got help. Anorexia is diagnosed when someone restricts food intake and loses weight until he or she is significantly below a healthy body weight. In my case, I got really underweight, although I didn't see it that way. My menstrual cycle stopped and I was exhausted. I didn't worry about those things because I also felt great. Feeling in control of something in my life made it easy to deny there was a problem. A lot of people with anorexia feel the same way, but if it's left untreated, anorexia can cause really serious medical conditions like bone and heart problems, and even lead to death. There are other feeding and eating disorders, including binge eating and bulimia nervosa. In binge eating disorder, people eat large amounts of food in a really short period of time. They feel out of control and helpless about their desire to eat, yet they can't stop. Binge eating disorder can also lead to a lot of medical problems like obesity, high blood pressure and cholesterol, and diabetes. People say they feel disgusted with and ashamed of themselves, which may be a result of the behavior, but also might promote the behavior. Bulimia nervosa also includes binge eating. Feeling upset with themselves, people then try to compensate with purging behaviors. Purging can be done through intentionally vomiting, using laxatives, or exercising excessively. People develop problems with their teeth from vomiting, including worn or decaying enamel and pain, and can also experience a sore throat, dehydration, or stomach problems. As with other disorders, people with bulimia also feel a great deal of shame and try to hide their binging and purging. When I was a teenager, my parents got me medical treatment that included a stay in the hospital. I didn't want to at the time, but now I know it was the right thing to do. I was in a medical crisis. A dietitian worked with my treatment team to help create a healthy eating plan for me to follow. I also participated in CBTE, or Enhanced Cognitive Behavioral Therapy. It's specifically created for eating disorders and helped me change my thinking around food, eating, and my weight. I learned that I had a pretty unrealistic image of what I looked like, and CBTE helped me understand and slowly change it. My family was also involved in my treatment, which really helped. Each piece of the program I did is backed by evidence saying it works. Other therapies are proven to work as well. Interpersonal therapy, or IPT, helps people understand their eating behaviors as well as how they interact with people in their lives. Finally, some people with eating disorders get benefits from medication, which helps with those stubborn thoughts, as well as the depression and anxiety that often comes along with these diagnoses. My experience with anorexia nervosa was life-changing. I understand now that food can become more than just food for some people. It can take over thoughts and feelings, but with evidence-based treatment, they can get their lives back and develop healthy relationships with food. I know, I did.
Pros and cons. Obesity, going out of your way to obtain certain food, continuing to eat certain food even if no longer hungry, eating in secret, isolations, avoiding social interactions, relationship, or function to spend time eating certain foods, spending significant amount of money on buying certain food for binging purpose, decreased energy, chronic fatigue, sleep disorders such as insomnia or oversleeping, irritability, heart issues, digestive disorders. A video.
My son was on the wrestling team. When he cut weight by 2 classes, we started to worry.
We had always enjoyed family dinner together, but my daughter started to be very rigid about what she would eat. Eventually, she refused to join us and stayed in her room.
One of my boys would just sit and watch TV and eat snacks. I would find wrappers and food containers everywhere, and he gained 20 pounds in a month.
Our oldest daughter would leave the table to be by herself after every meal. She got sick all the time and looked so pale, but she wouldn't talk about what was going on.
These are the voices of parents who have noticed behavior in their children that could indicate a feeding or eating disorder. The most common of these disorders include anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. These are complex mental health conditions that often occur during the teenage years and can be the source of physical problems, emotional distress, and even medical crisis. Detecting feeding and eating disorders as early as possible is an important step in helping. Keep a few simple things in mind. Watch behavior. People with feeding or eating disorders often attempt to hide their conditions. Watch for behavior like withdrawing from family mealtime, refusing to eat certain foods, having a rigid rule about food, stockpiling or hiding food, calorie counting, excessive exercise, vomiting when not ill, or using laxatives. Try to connect. Talking about these challenges must be done empathetically, compassionately, and kindly. But the seriousness of the conversation must also be clear. People struggling with their thoughts about food and weight often feel alone, misunderstood, and hopeless. Unwavering support and personal connection from family is vital. Expect resistance. A person with a feeding or eating disorder can experience deep embarrassment, shame, guilt, fear, and hopelessness. It is important for family members to be as patient as possible. It often takes time and repeated efforts in order to successfully discuss concerns. Physical health can deteriorate. When feeding or eating disorders remain untreated and symptoms persist, family members may see dramatic changes in health, including sudden weight loss or weight gain, high or low blood sugar, easy or frequent bruising, unhealthy skin and hair, easily broken bones, gastrointestinal problems, rotting teeth, and other significant medical issues. Crisis is possible. Physical deterioration can lead to crisis. While most people receive care prior to a crisis, advanced feeding or eating disorders can result in life-threatening situations, including cardiac arrest, coma, organ failure, and suicidal thoughts and behavior. If this happens, emergency medical attention should be sought immediately. Treatment works. Feeding and eating disorders are serious conditions that are scary for the person suffering and the family. It's important for family members to confidently discuss the treatment options for these conditions and know that evidence-based treatments can be successful. Because these disorders are common, There are mental health providers, physicians, crisis lines, peer support groups, and organizations dedicated to providing useful, empathetic, and supportive resources for both patients and their families. People experience feeding or eating disorders together with their families. The conditions can be scary and they are dangerous if left untreated. But families and people can seek treatment together, and treatment works. With some basic preparation and awareness, a family can find and provide help. And with this help, there is hope. If you or someone you are worried about is struggling with any of the issues discussed in this short video, help is just a phone call away.
Use a breed in Ecuador. Excess weight is defined as an imbalance between intake of food and consumption of the energy which it provides. This problem is a very complex one since multiple hereditary factors, hormonal changes, among are involved in a serious public health problem. In Ecuador, which in the last 9 years has risen from the low income category to that of medium income, in which strong investment in health and education, the prevalence of excess weight in 2021 among the population aged 5 to 11 years was 29.9% and 26% in those aged 12 to 19 years. The population aged than 19 years represents the 20% of the total Ecuadorians. Since these are high percentage, attention must be paid to this problem. Conclusion: obesity is more than a static problem, as it presents carries serious health risks. The most obvious thing is that the young generation learn to prevent it. Treatment of the disorder is essentially based on a well-designed eating plan coupled with a regular physical activity program. Obesity is often accompanied by depression, and one can cause and influence the other. Depression can cause and result from stress, which in turn can cause a change in your eating habits and activities, inadvertently eating too much of the ground food or giving up exercise in no time become a habit that is difficult to change. Thank you.